Thanks for the likes. Let's see if we can get a few other people in here before we get started. You guys, thanks for stopping by. Let's see if I can figure out how to. There we go. Try to add a couple books in here. Thanks for the likes. Yeah. I got a couple books in there, but it's not letting me pin them. I don't know why. That's weird. Oh, there we go. Let's see if I can't drop that book into YouTube. Oh. You guys, thanks for stopping by. Ooh, Cadillac. Actually about to publish a book about Cadillac. My first car. Used to race it. The law enforcement used to call it the Blue Blaze. Now that I taught you how to do likes, huh? You're funny. Oh, well, it's 6 after, so the one of the things that's come up a few times in conversation is why people will get so stuck in things that yours was a Buick Skyhawk. Did you race it? Why people will get stuck in, like, chasing scams or in dead-end jobs when they can most likely could, start their own business or a side hustle or something. I mean, I literally today just listed a business for $8,000 that you can make $8,000 in profit in a month. And it's something that it requires some physical work, so it's not something that anybody could do, but it's something that most people could do. So, but I mean, there's a business that pays for itself in the first month, and most people could live pretty comfortably off of $8,000 a month. But even on this as a side business, it'll make $1,200 a month. I was doing it just as, as a side gig, but I don't have time anymore. And it's one of those things that I started it for somebody that wanted something to do, and then they didn't follow through, so I ended up stuck with it, and I don't have time for it. So, but anyway, so the question is, why is it that people get stuck in these things that they, you know, could do so much better? How many donuts can you stack on it? Right. Um, and it's the never ending question. Why are you chasing scams? Why are you stuck in a dead end job when there are so many things? And, there are story after story after story of people that either start a business with nothing, start a business with almost nothing. I mean, I've got stories of people. There's a gal here in Orlando that literally is missing a hand. She has a hand and a stub, okay? And she does braids. She's a black girl and does braids. Now, you kind of need two hands to do braids, okay? My wife does braids, and you kind of need two hands. I don't know how she does it. I've seen videos, I've watched it, and she does it. She does a good job. So, when people tell me that they can't do things because of this or that, whatever, I call bullshit. I'm sorry. There was a guy stuck in a wheelchair in his 30s from rheumatoid arthritis. And he said, well, I still have my brain. And he figured out a way to save his family farm just from an idea that nobody had ever done, just a different way of doing things. And not only did he save the family farm, he became a millionaire. And 100 years later, the farm is still in the family. The business is still successful. So, excuse me. And, one of my favorite examples is Richard Branson. I mean, he gets stuck in an airport on his way to see his girlfriend. The flight gets canceled. And instead of sitting there frustrated, like most people would be, he looks around and he sees, well, there's airplanes I can charter. And so he finds out how much it is to charter an airplane, a private plane, and he divides that by the number of seats in the plane, takes a piece of cardboard and writes on it, flies to the Bahamas, and sells all the seats to the plane to cover his flight, and flies to the Bahamas for free. And when they asked, well, what's the name of the airline? He said, well, I guess it's Virgin. Hey, hi. Well, we're doing a podcast, in case you're wondering, on why you're chasing peanuts. So, he said, I guess the name of it is Virgin Airlines because I've never done this before. And then he went back and leased a 747 and did it full scale, and he leased the 747 without any money down, no money out, and had everything paid for, all the tickets before, the plane, the fuel, the employees, everything was paid for before they ever took delivery of the plane. So again, where there's a will, there's a way. But that's always been true. That's always been true. Now, let me bring it to today, because there's an opportunity right now today that is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I want you guys to pull up your chairs, grab your notepads, and listen up, because you have an opportunity right now that will probably never come again in your lifetime. Google has done something that is unprecedented, and it has literally changed the marketplace. It's changed the world. And most people are still figuring out what the hell happened. I'm going to let you in on the scoop. And if you take advantage of this, this could make you millions. This could make, a couple dollars. It's up to you. Life is what you make of it. But here's the deal. Google has always wanted to just provide the best search results. That's it. That's all they've ever been after. And the marketing firms that have been trying to game the system, trick Google into getting their clients to show up higher in the rankings, contrary to what Google's trying to provide. Google several times a year will come up with new updates, new algorithms to try to figure out, what these firms are doing. And it's this constant back and forth, ebb and flow. And so, which is why I've never followed that. I've always gone for let's try to figure out what Google's trying to do. And let's try to do a better job at giving Google what they want instead of trying to trick Google. And in doing just try to give Google a better job of what they're asking for, it works. So my clients, instead of getting, everybody talks about, well, I want first position or third position on Google. And they get into all these analogies of which is better for conversion, first, third, 10th, or whatever. I don't play that game. I go for the first 3 pages of Google. That's what I do, because it's always been a much better game. If you can provide your client with 3 pages of performance instead of just one listing, it's going to work. And now that you get to voice, where people are searching by voice, it makes all the difference, because voice doesn't look at one listing. Voice looks at popularity. So when you're dominating search by covering 3 pages, voice automatically chooses you. So over the last couple of years, most people have been going to using more and more AI, and more marketing firms and more AI and more overseas. And Google sees this as just junk. And they've been working harder and harder to sort it out. So it was middle of last year, they came out with an update where they used AI to begin to actually read your websites. And that, became kind of a hard hit for a lot of people, because if your website was not actually answering the questions that people are asking, then Google would push it down. Well, if your website was answering the questions, then you get better ranking. But not only that, everybody that's searching in AI, if you're doing the things that Google wanted, your website would automatically show up in AI searches. But people weren't thinking about that, okay? Kind of a double whammy there. So fast forward to end of December 29th, Google rolled out the Nexus update. Without getting too technical, Google waged a full-on war against AI. And it's ironic that they're using AI to filter out AI. But it's not just AI. Google wants to know that the person posting is a real person and an authority on what they're speaking about, if that makes sense. And so with this update at the end of December, major sites saw a drop by 70 to 90%. I'm going to switch out the books I've got here because the SEO book's kind of pertinent to this. So the major sites saw a drop in 70 to 90%. So, but mine didn't. My sites saw overnight more than a 50% increase. So I started digging into this. I'm like, okay, what exactly is this update? Because I'm used to when Google does an update, I get a little uptick, but more than 50%, this is major. And what Google's looking at is, again, if it's AI, we don't want it, but we want to know who the actual person is, first and foremost. Are they an authority? Are they a real person? And then from there, so Google ranks a variety of things, or assigns authority based on the authority of the entity. So if you look on a scale of 1 to 10, they look at the person posting and where they're posting, okay, in assigning how they're going to, rank that post, okay? So if you are a business owner and you own a website and you do that post properly, chances are Google's going to rank you at a 6 to 8. That didn't used to be the case. It used to be, had more to do with how well it was written and everything, but now it has more to do with who wrote it. So now you're going to be ranked at a 6 to 8. But if you hire a marketing firm, a typical marketing firm, where you have people marketing degrees, they know how to write, they know strategies as far as all the keywords and backlinks and all the stuff they've been doing since back in the 90s, okay? Because most marketing firms don't really change what they're doing. Google's going to assign that a 4 to 6. And you might ask, well, how do they know the difference? Well, there's a number of ways. Number one, they can tell the IP address of where the post comes from, because that's one way. Because when you post, it comes from your IP address, from your home or from your office. And when a marketing firm does the post, it comes from the IP address of their office. So that's one easy way. Number two, you have a login. When you log into the website, you have your username. They have a login username that they use, okay? So those are two really easy ways that Google can tell who did the post. And a marketing firm, you might have some really good writers, and they might know some good strategies. They might be better writers. They might have better strategies than you. But Google knows that they don't really give a shit about what you're talking about when you write. They're just there for the buck. And so Google does not give them as much authority as they do you. Then Google's also going to look at, when you post, you're connected to all of your social media channels, okay? Well, your marketing firm is not. They're not connected to any of your social media channels. That makes a big difference. So they're just someone over here getting paid to make your post. And they're posting for a lot of companies. See how the difference is in authority? You post, you're connected to a bunch of different platforms. And while they might connect to your platforms to spread it out, they're a different person posting out to your platforms, and it's not the same. Well, then let's say you hire some kid from Bangladesh off of Fiverr to do the post for $20. If he writes it himself, you might get a 1. If he uses ChatGPT, you're probably going to get a 0. Yeah, that's how it works. Here's where it really gets interesting. And this is why my posts went up by over 50% in one day. Because Google looks at me, because I got a marketing firm too. You would think that after Nexus, my posts would have gone down. But Google looks at me differently because I'm a published author. Google looks at me and, I've got, several websites of my own that I write on, but I have more than a dozen of my own published books with their own ISBN numbers. You can buy those on a variety of topics. You can buy those books on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes and Nobles, booksellers, literally all around the world. And they're on the internet, they're off the internet, but you can, they're listed on the internet. Okay, so they're identified. And I've been on the internet for a long time. So, and I post every single day myself. So Google looks at me because of everything that I do on the internet every day. And Google sees me as a 10. I literally, because I'm in Google and I'm checking all this stuff out, right? And, weighing all these things. And, I'm like, so where do I fall? And Google says, you're a 10. I'm like, why? How am I a 10? And Google's listing all this stuff out. So, and here's the thing, and I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. If I post for one of my clients, because I don't own their site anymore, but when I log in, Google still sees that it's me. So they get my juice, so to speak. So here's the thing. Because this just happened, it has completely changed the playing field. It's like the Wild West all over again. And I mentioned the different sites that you're posting to, right? And they've completely changed because like X used to be Twitter, used to be at the top. Obviously, YouTube's always at the top. I mean, because Google owns it, And can we just stop with the $15 conversation? Just leave it. It's just distracting, okay? YouTube, it's the number 2 search engine in the world. So, and it's owned by Google. So of course it's going to be at the top. It's a 10. Anything you post in on YouTube holds authority. Last week I talked about the number 2 priority for channels that you can post on. And Pinterest, which used to be a nothing, is now number 9. Twitter or X, that used to be at the top because anything that you posted there, Google would index whatever you posted there. But now Twitter is so full of just garbage. And it's just not the same. And Google doesn't rely on indexing the way that it used to. So now Twitter is like a 2. It just doesn't really look at it the way that it used to. It's there, but it doesn't look to it, doesn't rely on it. And when you're doing your searches, you just don't see that much in the way of results from Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook used to be quite a bit higher, and now, it's at the bottom. So these things have completely switched around. And for you, if you've been chasing scams, if you've been stuck in a dead-end job, and you've been thinking about stepping out, whether it's a side hustle, starting a new business, there is no better time than right now, today, to step out and do that now. Because it doesn't change the fact that you can do this. You've always had the ability to be able to do this. But now you have an advantage. You have that advantage because Google has given you an advantage that in a year, it's going to go away. It's going to be gone. So this is a diminishing advantage. Every day, every week that you wait to start this side hustle, to start this new business, it's going to be harder. So if you started it, last year, it would be just like waiting until next year. Okay. But if you start it now, you have an advantage that I'm not going to say that nobody else has, but that nobody else realizes, because most marketing firms don't even realize what's going on yet. I've been digging in, like on Reddit. I've been in the threads for the last week or two on the SEO, search engine optimization threads, to try to get their take on it. And I'm telling you, they have no clue. They have no clue. They don't know what's going on with this Nexus update. They're still stuck in the same. They're still stuck on links and keywords, which I'm telling you, Google started doing away with that in the mid-90s. If in the mid-90s, when Google changed their user agreement to start reading your Gmail, that was the first indicator that Google was switching to a conversational approach to the whole SEO, everything. And if you weren't paying attention in the 90s to see that shift and change what you were doing back then, you were missing it. And that's when I changed. I changed back then to adjust to what Google was doing, because the writing was on the wall. But apparently nobody else saw that. And they're still talking about, you have to do keyword SEO. Here's the thing. They're still talking about, ranking on page 1. Okay. When you try to rank on page 1 in search results, it's great. Good for you. But when somebody is at the point that they are ready to make a buying decision, more than half of that is done through voice search, regardless of device. Phone, car, whatever, regardless of device. More than half of it is done through voice. When voice search is done, they don't look at rank. They look at popularity. How popular are you if you have one listing, regardless of position? One position does not show popularity, does it? So, you're losing it. More than half of when people are ready to buy, they're performing a search. More than half of them are performing a search, and you're not even there. You don't even show up. You don't have a chance. Not only that, when people are doing AI type research, AI does not look at what they call blue links, which are, the top 5 links. AI doesn't even look at that. I'll tell you how you know you're headed in the right direction. When you're doing AI research and AI starts giving you back things that you've posted because AI sees you as an expert in the topic you're researching, that's when you know that you're headed in the right direction. That's when AI is beginning to see you as an authority. So anyway, my point is right now, today is the time. If you've ever thought about a side hustle, a new business, stop chasing scams, get out of the dead end job, now is the time to do that, because you will never have a better opportunity than what you have right now. Because everybody that works in online search, 90% of them are scratching their heads. They have no idea what's going on. They don't have a clue. And I can tell you how to work that, because right now it's a level playing field where you, the owner of the website, the author of the website, you can compete at a higher level than a marketing firm. That's not going to happen for long. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that this makes sense to you guys. I know a lot of it's technical, but I try to, thread through it in a way that, it would make sense and help you to understand that there's a reason to step out and do something today if you've ever thought about doing something. So, any questions? Any comments? Crickets? It has to do with anything that you're going to be advertising online. It doesn't mean e-commerce. It means anything you're going to advertise online. It can be brick and mortar. It can be e-commerce. But if you want to write a book and sell it online, now's the time. If you're going to start a cleaning business and advertise online, now's the time. Anything that you need exposure, if you need leads, if you need people, now is the time. Because just about any kind of marketing that you're going to do in this day and age, the highest return on investment is through internet marketing. So it doesn't matter what the business idea is. I mean, you could be Richard Branson trying to sell plane tickets. You're going to do that online. You could be selling timeshare. You're going to do that online. You could be selling real estate. You're going to do that online. You could be selling goats. You're going to do that online. You could be selling tires. You're going to do that online. You could, what if you don't have capital? Then do lowercase. I mean, capital for what? I mean, it doesn't cost anything to write a blog and share it to your social media. Any business. I mean, listen, my book, Broke to Business Boss, teaches how to start a business for nothing. My first business, I started with nothing. Richard Branson started Virgin Airlines with nothing. I mean, there are so many business models that were started with nothing. You know, how much of my books profited? I don't know. I've never added them up. I mean, I write to help people, you know. That's an odd question. I know they've helped a lot of people, if that's your question. But it's I mean, I've helped make millionaires. Is that a good answer to your question? It's not about the money, it's the mindset. There's only one time I've ever gone to seek funding. Anytime I've ever started a business, I've always done it from just whatever I had on hand or just did it with nothing. The one time I went to seek funding, it was not a business of mine. It was a business that I was a part of. And, you know, the business partners, they said, hey, we're going to go see John. He's in Orlando. Okay, we want you to come along, since I was the marketing guy. And we get in the car, and so we're driving along, and they hand me the packet that they'd made up of, I mean, it was all stuff that I'd designed and everything anyway. So all, you know, printouts from the website that I designed. And says, hey, we want you to make the pitch. And we get there, and it was supposed to be about one light company. And it was to John Morgan, by the way, of Morgan & Morgan. And he decided he wanted a different light company that he liked better. It was about lighting golf courses. And he liked it. And he said, well, how much you want to invest? I don't know. How about 10 million? So that's the only time I've ever gone and pitched money. That was for 10 million. I've never taken out a business loan. So, you know, I have funded business expansions from, you know, just with existing capital that I had, things like that. But that's not the same as starting a business. You know, and if you're looking to, I mean, I will say this. I did buy a $2 million business one time for 15% of sales as they came in. I did that. That was kind of like financing a business. I did that. As close as I ever came to getting a loan. That was self-financed, you know. But you don't have to have, if you don't have the money for that idea, find another idea. I mean, every millionaire that I've ever interviewed, every idea that they did, it was just the next opportunity that they had. They didn't, you know, it wasn't like, oh, I have a dream. You know, it wasn't, you know, most highly successful people, like one guy, I've got a book that I'm working on. It would already be out, but one of the guys is in the middle of an IPO. So there's a gag order, so I can't publish it right now. But one of the guys, had a family business and everything was great. And then he stepped down from the family business, needed a job. Went to his next door neighbor and said, "Hey, I need a job. You know of anything?" The guy says, "I'll give you a job." Okay. So, working for him, and found that he liked the construction aspect of what the guy was doing. So the guy says, "Well, hey, if you like the construction, I'll help you get your license." So he got his license and as a commercial contractor, and now the guy is literally licensed as nationwide as a commercial contractor, and does like, the FedEx type processing facilities and stuff. I mean, he's high-end commercial contractor. So you can do anything. He didn't have a ton of money when he started out. He's a millionaire now. So I'm there. I'm available to help anybody that, wants help. That's what I'm here for. I have a passion for creating wealth. I'm not trying to, I pinned my books up in here, because I've published more than a dozen, and people like them. They're helpful. So I'll switch back to the other one. It's more about starting a business. So yeah. Okay. So I see your comment there, Leslie. I'll need more information because I'm not sure specifically what you mean there. But so, and I'm not trying to be argumentative about, the funding thing. It's just that, find something that you can fund, or find a way to fund it. There's so many creative ways to fund things. I don't want to say take on a partner because that can be difficult, but I also am not a fan of taking on financing. So yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. So, it's just that right now is a time like no ever, because you don't have a business until you have sales. That's a fact. And right now, because Google has leveled the playing field and made it so easy for you to compete against the huge marketing firms, that means it's easy for you to get leads. And you can't get sales without leads. So that's my point today, is get off your ass and do something, because right now you can get leads. Yeah, I said it. Do it today. Because next week, it'll be harder. Next month, it'll be even harder. And by the end of the year, you missed it. There. So, I thought I did. Let me double check. Maybe I forgot to hit send. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that's the way it is. And if you're available, I can actually do 3:00 if that works for you, since we finished up early.